And I think what's really interesting too, you mentioned something. And so again, if you're listening too, I will say, I'm guessing there's like 50-50 maybe of women who might be listening to this podcast who, when I say past lives, they're like, sure, of course. Like, you know, they're like, yeah, let's go all in. We're going there. And others might be like, you know, I don't know what she's talking about. And that's fine, because as you just shared, your initial experience with it was that's total bullshit. And here you are, you know, like 10 years later, a full-blown evolutionary astrologist. And for myself, it's interesting because I think we do sometimes seek that validation or confirmation, like, because as we have this spiritual awakening, we start to, you know, if you're opening your clairs, you start to see, know, witness, hear things, right, within yourself, this inner wisdom. But it's very easy for our ego to come in and be like, that's total bullshit. This is not real. This does not make sense.
Very familiar with that ego fight. Yep.
And so I think a lot of us are like kind of searching for each other in our own specialties and expertise. So again, for me, it was initially, I think ending up in the Akashic Records, but ultimately getting past life glimpses when I was doing these certain meditations back in 2020 and 2021. And it's like I was watching a movie of something happening that felt like me, but wasn't in this lifetime. And at first I was like, well, these are just like movies that I'm playing in my mind that are like fantasy, that are imagination. I didn't put a lot of, I don't know, weight in them, that like that was truly me, until like more and more kept coming. And then I met you, you know, right, a couple of years ago. And it felt so validating when you told me like, oh, no, you have had a past life with your adoptive mom, or you have known your son before. And then I was like, oh, click. That wasn't total BS that my mind was making stuff up. So I think like too, a lot of us, it's like we find each other to even sometimes validate and confirm for each other, and always running it through our own intuition and system. But I think it helps when when someone else kind of affirms like, oh, no, that's like in your chart. Or
well, you just described your personal karma. Okay. So you had all these internal downloads, like just personal to you. And then you talked to me for that external validation, which your past life karma does kind of still need for you to grow. Okay. Yeah, and once you got it from me and maybe other practitioners, you can dive fully into your internal knowledge and those downloads and start to trust them. So I'm not saying completely discard your Leo external validation. It was that little push that you needed, that spark.
100%. And to be honest, it was between some astrology readings with you, Meredith, and then another friend who at the time she was a practicing psychic medium. She said something in a reading that was like, oh, Maria, you're going to be like using the Akashic Records in your business. And I remember again, at the time that I heard that, I was like, oh, hell no, I'm not. Like, I'm doing this for me, for my own personal journey. But again, I did need that like external validation of her saying that to then realize now 6 months later, I'm full blown. I mean, you and I just did a healing session together. Like, I'm doing full blown Akashic Records healing.
You're great at it. You're great at it.
Thank you. But like, I will say that was the Leo in me just needing that little extra nudge to be like, oh, no, go do what you came here to do.
No, I can relate to that. And I don't know why our egos instantly kind of push back, because the first time someone told me to professionally practice astrology, I was like, you're bonkers, lady. Like, no way. And I don't know if it's because in past lives we've gotten in big trouble for doing this work, and now we've come back during the age of Aquarius and it's more safe to practice our crafts. But I've had that same like instant, just like, no. And I'm like, I don't know where that comes from today. I still kind of like, I don't know where that comes from. It might be past lives.
I fully agree, past life trauma. And I think that's, to be honest, I feel like that's part of my purpose of being called here, which is to help us as a collective even heal some of that. Like, it was really interesting at the beginning of July, when I was doing Akashic Records meditations, going into the Akashic Records, just, you know, spending time and sitting and meditating with my guides. I was getting this flavor and I didn't know what it was until I got a full download that we were starting to come upon the anniversary again of the Salem witch trials, which started in the summer of, I'll get the dates wrong, but like 1863 or whatever it was. And then all of a sudden it was like full download. Okay, you need to like deliver this collective healing this witch wound. And it's funny because before I channeled in this healing and recorded it and whatever, I've always hated Halloween. I've hated Halloween. I'm like, Halloween is the dumbest thing. I hate witches. I hate the whole thing. And now after I delivered the healing, I've re-listened to the healing myself. I I'm like, oh my God, let's bring on fall. Let's bring on Halloween. I am ready to like get into my witch vibes. Like, it's just funny
Well, you
how,
healed something doing that for the collective. You healed something for you.
yeah, yeah. But again, I do think like it is very interesting that a lot of us soul driven, purpose driven, doing some woo stuff now, entrepreneurs, definitely that's part of the process is working through, I think, some of that past life trauma that has kept us silenced, you know?
Right. And mine was public speaking. So when I first started doing, workshops
Um,
or talking about my craft in front of people, even in high school, I would shake and like just not be able to find my words. And this has taken me 10 years to even just sit down with you confidently without massive anxiety, speaking my truth. So that has been part of my karma because I talk to a
it's
lot of
huge.
clients that also share with me, like in this incarnation, they can't explain why they have such a fear of public speaking.
Yeah.
And, I'll say things like, well, you were, dropping truth bombs in past lives or speaking your truth, and you got in big trouble for that. And then they'll go, I just got immediate goosebumps. And I call the goosebumps now truth tingles. So let's follow
Mhm.
those. Oh, I'm getting them right now. Like I'm going to start to like
Yeah.
move around in my chair.
Yeah. I love it.
When I get the goosebumps or the truth tingles, as I say, I like, let's follow this lead. Let's have some conversation to see how deep we need to go. And we can figure out why, for me and other people, the public speaking is just so terrifying.
Yeah. Yeah.